Earlier this year, a hacker group going by the name of nullbulge got into Disney's information through an app called Slack. While some data made it into the public, it seems like personal information of Disney employees got into the open, causing greater concerns for those within the company. And now it sounds like Disney is facing another class action lawsuit over employee data. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter from That Park Place, and here with me is VashSky, who lives at 1285 Sesame Place.
Thank you, Jonas. Very much appreciated. I don't know if the viewers necessarily need to know that information, but now you know. I will say, Jonas, another day, another lawsuit with the Walt Disney Company. It's just one of those things.
It used to be a legendary thing. Disney lawyers, they're going to come and they're going to sue us. They're going to sue us out of existence. It seems like they lose more often than they win anymore. Disney faces class action lawsuit over employee data breach. This by Christy Karras. Walt Disney Company has been hit with a class action lawsuit accusing the Burbank-based entertainment giant of negligence, breach of implied contract, and other misconduct in connection with a massive data breach that occurred earlier this year. Implied contract. Yeah, they probably would assume that Disney was not going to sell their information, let alone let whoever happens to get access to it to have it. Plaintiff Scott Margall submitted the complaint on Thursday in Los Angeles County Superior Court against Disney and Disney California Adventure. The 32-page document also accuses the company of violating privacy laws by not doing enough to prevent or notify victims of the extent of the leak. Class members, estimated to number in the thousands, are described in the complaint as individuals who gave highly sensitive personal information to Disney in connection with their employment at the company. Information that was allegedly compromised in the breach. Representatives of Disney did not immediately respond to the Times request for comment. The lawsuit cites an article published in September by the Wall Street Journal, which reported that the hacking group known as nullbulge publicly released data spanning more than 18,800 spreadsheets, 13,000 PDFs, and 44 million internal messages sent via workplace communication platform Slack. Yep, that's what you do in a Slack. You send all kinds of data back and forth. I wonder if it was HR data. I'm assuming that's what it is, if this is the case. There's also, if anyone had a bio or any kind of personal information posted in their bio for other people to be able to get a hold of them. Vash, if you worked for an employer and all of the information from your personal messages, not personal messages, but work messages, made it out into the open, would you be happy?
Yeah, I wouldn't be pleased, but hey, look, listen, when you're using official channels in any capacity, especially when you're talking about official channels regarding your employer, you always got to be weary that somebody else might be watching what you actually put in and not just the recipients that you intend. So, a little safeguard there can always go a long way. I will say this is a very interesting story because I didn't think that there was anything that employees of the Walt Disney Company could actually do regarding this data leak and so forth. But apparently, California has a robust set of employee and consumer protection laws that apparently force companies to have to not only disclose what actually happened, what information was compromised and so forth, and what potential recompense could be offered in this instance. This is a very fascinating story because a lot of these laws that are on the books that apparently are being sued over in this lawsuit, I just didn't know existed.
Yeah, I also need to point out that with a company like Disney, it seems like they always run afoul of a law somewhere. They're a global company, so and they should have some kind of company metric on the books. Most companies do that say we obey the laws of whatever region we happen to be in. You very rarely find companies in defiance of that, no matter how reprehensible that law might be. I'm not talking about this one as reprehensible, just talking about companies that do business overseas, we'll say. So, yeah, also, of course, that brings to mind the Gina Carano lawsuit, which her speech is protected in a different way in California than it is in the rest of the United States, because California specifically has a law on the books that says that you cannot fire someone because of their political leanings. That was a law that was intended to protect communists back in the days of McCarthyism. But of course, now it is being used to say, well, the Walt Disney Company has no problem with this person's speech, and this person's speech, because they all said similar things, but they're not a white woman. So not to insult Gina Carano by calling her a white woman, of course.
Referring to the Unruh Act, which was ratified, I believe, in the 1950s or 60s, following that whole Red Scare incident there. Very interesting time period indeed. With this, apparently hacks and data breaches and leaks and so forth have become so commonplace that California has, again, may have passed some laws in order to protect employees and consumers. And apparently they're being sued over it, which is, like I said, just absolutely fascinating. The lawsuit alleges that Disney didn't notify, for example, that there was any data breach at all. And that's kind of consistent with our research, Jonas, that the company was a little bit cagey on even admitting that such a data leak had even occurred.
It's also interesting in this instance because 1.1, I think they said it was one TIB, which is not the same as a terabyte. Here it might actually be 1,000 gigabytes of data here. Disney never wants to admit something like this. Another thing that I think is interesting, Vash, that is kind of being lost in the shuffle, the hacker group says it leaked Disney data over the company's approach to artificial intelligence, which this by the same author here, group of hackers, says it's over the company's handling of artist contracts, its approach to AI, and its pretty blatant disregard for the customer. Now, I'm not sure if that is totally what's going on here, but of course, Disney did just announce just November 1st. This is Disney unveils new business unit to explore opportunities and risks for AI and other emerging tech. Those rumors in the wrap about them doing an official AI business unit, of course, coming true there. But yes, Disney is the biggest studio out there that's going to be openly exploring AI in a way that I think other studios won't. Disney has a creative problem right now, and that creative problem is also causing a huge cost problem on the back end when they do testing for their films, and then they decide to redo the entirety of that film for one reason or another. They incur a bunch of VFX costs. That's where they're saying they're going to be using this AI going forward in order to try to reduce costs there. Of course, that is going to be something where they're probably going to start, but then expand there to go earlier and earlier. And if you're going to do a live action remake of another Disney classic, they're probably going to start with, well, what would this just look like if we put people in these roles instead of cartoon characters? And then they essentially have their film made by a committee of computers, and they can improve it from there. I'm not trying to insult any specific filmmakers here, but no, I'll go after one. Lady and the Tramp is a film that could have been generated by AI if they had the technology at that point. It is the uncanny valley, but for dogs, which I did not think applied to dogs based on the concept of the uncanny valley. It is a perfectly forgettable kind of surrealistic film that Disney dumped on Disney Plus, and is the kind of thing that AI could very easily do. If you just said, hey, do a live action version of, I don't know, I don't want to say The Black Cauldron, because I understand the Chronicles of Prydain are actually pretty good books, but that comes to mind.
I will say, AI, very contentious issue, especially in Hollywood amongst creatives. Specifically, generative AI has the most people most concerned about it. We actually went over the IATSE contract recently on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. Definitely check it out at T3PO, talking about how AI was a very profound issue in those negotiations. And, some things they got, some things they didn't. Definitely a big thing there. Nullbulge, I believe, also talked about how Disney was utilizing consumer data. I believe that it's collected over the past decades or so. We know that Disney has collected a lot of data in regards to consumer habits, spending habits, all kinds of stuff that the company has said at many earnings calls and so forth. Oh, yes, we use this consumer data in order to help out our businesses and so forth. And I believe Nullbulge was talking about those specific instances as well as maybe one of the reasons why they actually did this. If I'm not mistaken, Jonas, maybe you can help me on that. But suffice to say, Disney may have played a little bit fast and loose when it came to the Slack itself, and the way that we were able to confirm that this leak was authentic was because the company then, they responded by dropping Slack almost entirely, which was really profound. So with all of this, this lawsuit being filed and so forth, we know pretty much 100% that this is all accurate in terms of the leak itself.
I'm also going to point out that Slack is a software that is from Salesforce, which Mason Morfitt is heavily involved with Salesforce. And there's a video talking about how they've essentially, now that they're done with their proxy battle, they've essentially stabbed Mason Morfitt in the back a little bit there. There's still some kind of relationship there between Bob Iger and Mason Morfitt. I think there is some kind of relationship between Mason Morfitt and Walt Disney Company CFO Hugh Johnston, because they've traded seats on the Microsoft board of directors there. So there was some kind of relationship there, but also the company, Salesforce, is losing Disney as a client, at least for Slack. There may be some other software that they use there, but we've got a video on that. Of course, you can check that out here on the channel if you want to learn more about Mason Morfitt, Slack, and Salesforce and that relationship there. But we want to throw this to our customers here, our viewers, our commenters. What do you think about this? Is this something where Disney should have tightened up the ship here? Is it just something where they're going to have to pay for like a year of Equifax, which seems to be the hand-wavy way to make this go away, to make it look like you're not as culpable as you actually are for not securing employee data? I don't know. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like this video if you like this video. And of course, if you haven't at this point, why haven't you? Consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.